tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TEDXcellence, the show where we find out just how super our bodily functions are. Yeah, that's a thing. And this is the second time we've looked at this sort of thing. And I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Thursday. TMI Thursday. Yes, we turn once again to the wonderful world of off-brand TED Talks. And this one certainly is off-brand. Sort of. But not for this series. Because again, this is a sequel. Technically. I'll get into that in a moment. But first, who's joining me on this beautiful Thursday evening? Dexter's Killer Lab. Good evening. Walter Tomaszewski. Good evening. Scribe. There is a character in Chaplin's The Pawn Shop who looks exactly like your avatar, mustache and all. Hope this makes your evening. If not, there is no justice in this world. A screenshot. That's what I need. A screenshot. Somehow, some way. I'll have to look for this. Thank you, Walter Tomaszewski. JB, good evening. Kieverdam, good evening to you. And thank you, Kieverdam, as always, for providing the link to the donation page for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, guys. That's pinned to the top of the chat box. If you can take a look at that when you have the opportunity, please donate if you are able to. But even if you're not, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Kieverdam, as always, for providing the link. The Alexander, good evening. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Tier Alexander, hello. Mike R, hello. Who else is here? Somnamnial Nation, hello. Resolute Germ, good evening. Miranda Stone is here. Everybody, you know Miranda Stone, don't you? Well, if you don't know about Miranda Stone, it's Miranda Stone. Okay, tradition's tradition. Tack Alpaca, hello. Who else is here? Anybody else? Corey Suzuki, hello. Funtime Bats, hello. Josh Hammond, good evening. The Best Remy, hello. And I think that's everybody. I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good evening. Yes, so tonight we have a second visit by the monthly friend. Yes, this is technically a sequel. Some time ago, I think it was like 2 some odd years ago or thereabouts, I did a month of nothing but TEDx Talks that talked about superpowers, because one of the things that TEDx Talk creators like to put in their titles is, my blank is a superpower. So my autism is a superpower. My nearsightedness is a superpower. My, left toe is a superpower, whatever. But in one case it was, my menstrual cycle is a superpower. And this is another attempt at that sales pitch, the secret superpowers of the menstrual cycle. So welcome one and all to part 2 of Superflow. Zan Wild, good evening. And Asan, good evening. Kieverdam has taken the show a little blue. But anyway, yeah, so tonight's bingo card is bingo card C. C for cycle, because I was busy today and I forgot to put up a poll for the bingo card, so I'm making an executive decision and just picking bingo card C. So bingo card C, links are in the description, guys. Get your bingo card C's ready, and we'll get into it. Today's episode goes for just under 16 minutes, so it'll be a decent-sized TEDXcellence. And with that, I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
Did you know that in a single month, the average woman goes through more hormonal changes than a man will in his entire lifetime?
That explains quite a bit, actually. Now, I can't promise there's not going to be some stupid male reaction humor here tonight, because I am a stupid male when it comes to the menstrual cycle. I've never had to go through it. Not personally, but of course indirectly a few times. So, by sort of collateral damage, let's say, depending on the situation. But, okay, did you guys know that? I don't know that I knew that. Is that news to you? News to me. Let's see. Play Trucker Zach says Scrabbles. Is that like Scrabble, except you've like jumbled your brain or something? John Traxon, good evening. Some Nation says, sounds fine audio-wise. Yeah, I had to. That's why there was a slight delay to starting tonight's broadcast. I noticed that the sound level on the video was a bit too quiet. So I boosted it quite a bit. It still might be just a smidge quiet, but at least it's better than it was. All right, so in a single month, a woman goes through more hormonal changes than a man will his entire life. And
here's another mind-blowing fact.
Uh-huh.
A baby girl is born
Yes.
with all the immature egg cells she will ever have.
Oh my gosh. That's okay. I think I knew that already. And
here's the kicker.
uh-huh.
If your mother was born as a baby,
I think every mother was born as a baby. I have a sneaking suspicion that every mother was born as a baby. Unless your last name is Button for some reason. But anyway.
with all her egg cells,
Uh-huh.
it means they were formed
Uh-huh.
while she was still an unborn baby
Uh-huh.
in your grandmother's belly.
Oh my gosh.
So technically, you started out
Yes.
as an egg cell inside
Yes.
your grandmother.
Eee. Are you just trying to like gross me out or something? Ugh.
Maybe that's why your grandma calls you her little miracle, while your mom only calls you a handful.
Uh-huh.
If this comes as a surprise to you, don't worry, you're not alone.
You are not alone. Speaking of not being alone, Alan Thyler, good evening. Dina B, hello. Anybody else I missed in the meantime? I don't think so, but hello, guys. All right, so so far we've had egg facts. The price of eggs has gone down.
When I was 13 years old,
Oh, childhood or family anecdote. Going to the bingo card, circling childhood or family anecdote. We're already there. Circling that one, so get that one. Remember, this is bingo card C, everybody, so circling childhood or family anecdote and free space. I will review the bingo card shortly.
I got my first period and I was beyond excited.
Really?
It felt like entering a thrilling new life chapter.
Uh-huh.
I rushed to my mom with the big news, expecting a heartfelt bonding moment and celebrating this rite of passage.
And your mother rolled her eyes and said, oh, just you wait.
But instead, she gave me the, oh honey, look, and said, you won't enjoy this for much longer. And that was it. End of the conversation.
Okay. Maybe I should have a co-host on that is of the female persuasion to walk me through some of this so I don't sound like a complete idiot. Like, okay. And then, because everything, I'm waiting for that. What's the catch here? When do we get to the superpowers part? How does it enhance your senses or give you super strength or something?
My parents had explained to me the essentials of reproduction.
Uh-huh.
But we never talked about how my hormones could impact my body, my brain, and my emotions.
Now, isn't it a bit different for everybody? I mean, and again, I'm happy to be corrected by those who know better, obviously. But I have seen, just in the course of my life, between family members and or intimate partners, vastly different reactions and symptoms for each individual. I mean, some things are kind of common, other things aren't, and so on. So isn't it vary person to person most of the time? Or am I just mistaken?
Not because they didn't want to.
Uh-huh.
They just didn't know. Because here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Most of the science behind the menstrual cycle
Yeah.
is still wrapped in mystery.
Oh.
And the little we do know often gets lost on the layers of taboo.
Okay, when someone makes a claim like that, if this were like, I don't know, the 1900s, like the early 1900s or something, I could maybe, okay. But I have a feeling that there's a heck of a lot more science around the menstrual cycle than she's letting on. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're not nearly in the dark ages on this as she's suggesting.
It's like the Wi-Fi password of womanhood. You
What?
know it's there, but good luck finding out what it is.
Oh, I thought there was a whole other mystery of finding a particular part of womanhood that she was going to allude to there, but no, that didn't happen. Maybe that'll happen later.
Well, here's the good news.
Okay.
I have cracked that code.
Oh, you have the answer. Okay. I need a straw poll in the audience. And maybe you know, maybe you don't. Is the science, quote unquote, behind the menstrual cycle actually some kind of impenetrable, unsolved mystery in this day and age? Dina B says, it's not a mystery, lady. Well, also, tall person, hello. Let's see. Maiden Hell, no, none of you can find that bit. Well, I beg to differ. Just saying. Robert Pincus, hello. Let's see. Okay, so the straw poll says no. Dina B says no. Mike R says no. Well, if you're not a woman, your vote really doesn't count. But anyway, Walter Tomaszewski, thank you so much. Scribe, the picture of your twin is on your ex. Uh-oh. Okay, well, now that it's been made a thing, I got to go find it. And I have to... Oh, I see. Okay, well, let me download this. All right, well, now we have to have some audience participation here. So let me download this. This is going to look kind of goofy for a second because I'm going to switch out my my overlay with this photograph or the screenshot. So my overlay will disappear for a moment. 1 second, let me find it here on my... here we are. Okay, so according to Walter Tomaszewski, this is my Charlie Chaplin era film doppelganger. It's pretty close. Pretty close. I'm not so jazzed about the outfit, but no, I can see why you'd say that. That's pretty close. Yeah. Well, thank you, Walter Tomaszewski, both for the photograph and for the super chat. Appreciate it. Let me get that there. Okay, so I think Zed Hero. Good evening. I think and Angela Ariaga. Hello. Kay Roberts. Hello. And Ron Harushin. Hello. So I think the consensus is that the suggestion that the science behind the menstrual cycle is some kind of ancient mystery that just nobody understands doesn't pass muster. But she's got an answer for this straw tampon that she's constructed for us.
And I'm about to share it with you.
Okay.
But how did I figure it out? I started to truly understand my own cycle during the pandemic.
Oh, wait. The pandemic was... Well, admittedly, that's now like 5 years ago. Thereabouts. Depending on how when you talk about the pandemic. So at least 5 years ago. So prior to 5 years ago, you had no understanding of your monthly cycle? I might start circling anecdote that probably never happened, but continue.
Remember those lockdown days when every day felt like an endless loop of deja vu?
Well, I've kind of lived in the Nine Inch Nails song, every day is exactly the same, for quite a while now, but sure.
Well, although the external factors stayed exactly the same, I felt different every day.
Every day?
And that curiosity sparked a realization.
Oh.
My menstrual cycle wasn't just this monthly bloody guest. It was so much more than that.
Tell me true. What more was it?
I started tracking it and I found out how it profoundly influenced me every single day.
Every single day, even when it's not occurring. Okay, I'm open to new ideas.
So now I'm inviting you to join me in exploring what I believe is the greatest recurring show on Earth. The menstrual cycle.
Oh boy, guys, especially those of you in the audience who are menstrual cycle possessing people. Is that what the progressive left would probably call it or something? You know, menstrual cycle possessing people. Now, ladies in the chat, here you go. You let me know if this is a revelation for you, because I'm clueless elsewise.
A monthly masterpiece happening in my body and millions of people of all genders.
What? Yeah, no.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Right?
I could be mistaken. That might be one of the earliest, at least into the talk, WTFs we've ever had. But yeah, you've already lost me. Oh boy. I was making a joke before, right? You know, in fact, because I was making a joke about the gender relativism of everything, I'm gonna take another victory lap. Okay, so we have an all genders person talking about the menstrual cycle. Hi, caramba.
This show stars the ultimate power trio of hormones. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And these hormones aren't just about reproduction.
You're correct. They're not just about reproduction, but in females, they kinda are.
They are also running the backstage show on our mood, our energy,
Yeah.
and sometimes that desperate urge to inhale a jar of Nutella.
I have never inhaled a jar of Nutella. Has anybody in the chat of the menstrual cycle possessing persuasion ever inhaled a jar of Nutella?
So let's meet the cast of the show. We'll start with estrogen,
Okay.
also known as the go-getter hormone.
The go-getter hormone? I've never heard that before. Is that a common nickname for estrogen?
Its main gig is to nurture the growth of a maturing egg and boost your chances of a successful reproduction.
Okay, so it really only makes sense in that mechanism for biological women, correct?
When estrogen levels rise, it stimulates the body to produce serotonin and dopamine.
Serotonin and dopamine aren't those hormones?
Lifting mood and motivation. Estrogen even enhances your attractiveness by increasing symmetry in your facial features, changing your body scent, and yes, this has been researched, providing you with a sexier walk.
Estrogen gives you a strut. You know, I'm learning so much today that I didn't previously care to know. Okay, so I'm going to the bingo card. Let's go over the bingo card real quick, take a break from this for a moment, and remind ourselves what we were listening for and see if anything is elsewise circleable. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, not yet. Word salad, it's arguable. We might be getting there, but not quite yet. Mind reading or assumes motives, not clearly so far. A list, yes, she gave us a list of the 3 hormones that are key here. Marginalization, not so much yet. Patriarchy, we could get there. Contradicts own point or fails to make argument. Don't know what it is yet necessarily. Feminism, you'd think it'd be part and parcel. We've got to wait for some actual like language or ideology being put out there. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. That estrogen is the go-getter hormone. I'd never heard that before. If that's not new, then no. Systemic or institutional, well, the menstrual cycle is a system. I'll wait on that one. Anecdote that probably never happened. I'll wait. Maybe there'll be a more clear example. White supremacy, no. Leaves out vital context, not yet that I know of. Weightless example or non sequitur. Sales pitch for product or service, we'll see. Privilege, collectivizes own demographic. I don't know. I mean, she said all genders, so I don't think she's collectivizing own demographics. She's collectivizing all other demographics. We'll see. Self-vilification or wretchedness, no. Economic disparity, no. Benevolent condescension. Yeah, that we don't know anything about the menstrual cycle. That the menstrual cycle is somehow some kind of mystery to all things. Plays victim, no. Deceptive statistics, we haven't had any yet. And microaggressions or unconscious bias. Not clearly so just yet. So far on the board, remember this is bingo card C, we have a list, free space, childhood or family anecdote, benevolent condescension, and we do have a WTF circle around the card. If you have other arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them. We will get to you at the end of the presentation.
So if you're wondering how on earth you got so attractive all of a sudden, thank estrogen.
Is that, oh, well, gosh, I must just generate estrogen all day. No, I'm just full of testosterone because I use capital letters. Holy cow, Keeverdam, thank you so much for the Huggy Samurai trophy-holding Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Well.
That's a tailed featured Dogcat Fox. A completely goofy tailed featured Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Keeverdam. It's very generous of you. Appreciate it. Okay.
This hormone is inviting us to connect and engage.
Uh-huh.
Next up is progesterone,
Uh-huh.
best described as the nesting hormone.
The nesting hormone. Okay.
Its job is to prepare the body for a possible pregnancy and promote physical recovery.
Okay, so the first two hormones you're talking about are, at least in this context, exclusively geared toward biological female bodies. Why did you say all genders before?
It encourages a sense of calm and focus.
Uh-huh.
When progesterone is in charge, the idea of going out and mingling feels as appealing as jumping into a pool full of jellyfish.
Yes. Is that the cause of the sort of antisocial depression I've noticed in many females in my life around that time of the month?
Instead, it wants us to stay in, recharge, and be ready for whatever comes next.
Uh-huh.
Whether that's creating a new life or just thriving through another cycle.
Uh-huh.
This hormone is inviting us to slow down, move inwards, and embrace self-care.
Okay, so on the one hand, you become far more attractive, but on the other hand, you have no interest in taking advantage of it. I can see how this would cause a certain amount of sort of disconcertedness in women. Okay.
And last but not least, there is testosterone.
Yes, tell us about testosterone, of which I have plenty.
So whooping in like that double shot espresso you didn't know you needed.
What?
It provides you with an extra boost of energy and motivation to engage with the world.
And become toxic, right?
This hormone is inviting us to take risks and own our desires.
Take risks while also wanting to stay in, while also being more attractive. Yeah, no, I can see how this experience would be very, very confusing for anybody having to go through it because you have all these conflicting forces running against each other in your brain.
And yes, you hear this right, man. We've got some of your male sex hormone too.
Yeah, some. Statistically, not much.
Not as much as you,
Yeah.
but just enough to understand why you flip that Monopoly board when you're losing.
I don't flip the Monopoly board when I'm losing. I never lose Monopoly. Just ask my family. It's very frustrating for them. They never want to play with me. I always just wipe the floor with them.
So in case you were too busy doodling during high school biology, here's what you've missed.
Uh-huh.
Let's look at an average 28-day menstrual cycle
Uh-oh.
of someone not taking hormonal contraception.
Uh-oh. Are we going to have statistics and charts and things?
Bear in mind, although this is a common pattern, it's important to acknowledge that everybody is different.
Okay, well, if everybody's different, then how can you make any grand determinative statements about the process and or the experience? All right.
Day 1, the
Day
first
one.
day of noticeable bleeding, marks the beginning of the cycle.
Okay.
Menstruation usually lasts around 6 days, after which the follicular phase begins. This is when egg cells start to mature. Then, around the middle of the cycle, the most dominant egg cell is released. This is called our ovulation. After ovulation, the luteal phase begins, and the body prepares for a possible pregnancy.
Uh-huh.
If pregnancy hasn't occurred, the premenstrual phase sets in, and the body prepares for another menstruation.
I do feel like I'm back in high school biology class. So I guess that's a point in her favor, sort of.
This marks the end of the cycle.
Okay. Dear Alexander, Scribe is ignoring the chat again. Well, I have one screen. When I have one window open to watch the TEDx, I kind of have myself focused on listening to what the speaker's saying. So, but okay. All right, Tier. What am I missing? Contradicts own point by saying that all genders, she is saying that her superpower isn't a power exclusive to women and is something that is common. You're correct. All right. So I will circle contradicts own point or argument on the card. All right. That is circled. All right. Let's get back to it.
So how does this power trio of hormones fluctuate across one cycle?
I don't know.
We'll start with estrogen.
Okay.
It peaks just before ovulation.
Uh-huh.
And studies show that women tend to walk more and connect beyond their usual circles.
I thought there was no science behind you told us at the beginning of this that the science behind the menstrual cycle was practically non-existent, but that you discovered all of this because of lockdown. Now, all of her information here might be absolutely correct. I'm not going to argue that point. But the whole structure of this presentation is just as confusing as the collision of all of these hormones together on the monthly basis.
Which may be the body's way of encouraging diversity in gene pools.
Diversity! Oh my God, I didn't think we'd get there. We got diversity. All right, circling diversity, equity, and or inclusion on the board. Holy cats. What do you know?
When estrogen levels drop after ovulation,
Yes.
serotonin and dopamine levels follow, which may explain some of those emotional roller coasters halfway through the cycle.
And
It's
boy,
like
howdy.
Mother Nature saying, enjoy the ride.
I was about to say, and boy, howdy, have I, again, in the collateral sense, experienced some of those emotional roller coasters in my time.
But forgetting to mention, the roller coaster has a loop-de-loop.
Uh-huh.
At last, estrogen has a small upswing in the luteal phase before declining to very low levels again.
Okay. And the point of this is, where's the superpower part? When does the superpower part come in to play?
Progesterone follows a different path, rising sharply after ovulation. Then, around day 22, if pregnancy hasn't occurred, progesterone and estrogen levels drop.
Uh-huh.
This is often the source of PMS symptoms, sometimes humorously called the pissed at man syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And although this is not scientifically accurate, there is a psychological insight here. Some studies with heterosexual couples suggest that if pregnancy hasn't occurred, causing the body to enter the premenstrual phase, a mild irritation can be felt towards the partner, possibly because the body is disappointed on some deep biological level for not being pregnant.
So what, that doesn't occur in a homosexual couple? So two lesbians going through the same process, their body doesn't have a similar reaction of quote unquote disappointment, even if their partner isn't male? If you say so, you're the expert on the stage.
And assuming it must be the partner's fault.
Well, in each case, I think the answer would be yes.
So, in case you're feeling extra prickly towards your partner around this period of time, maybe wait a day or two before acting out. If the irritation doesn't pass, go nuts.
Speaking of the cycle of life, there's a distinct rhythmic creaking that's coming from the floor above me right now. I hope you guys can't hear it. I can. So, ay caramba.
At last, testosterone spikes a little around our ovulation, providing you with that extra boost to step out into the world and feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable? Okay. Ladies, 2 weeks into your regular cycle, do you feel unstoppable? Let me know. I'll try to mark my calendar to stay out of your way.
So now let's look at the menstrual cycle as if it were the 4 seasons.
What?
This provides us with a new framework to think and talk about it.
Why?
We'll start with the winter.
Wait, what? Okay. Why do I need to talk about it? I mean, it sounds like it's fairly well understood by science thus far, right? You've got the entire thing mapped out. Your claim at the beginning of this that somehow all the mysteries of the menstrual cycle, nobody knows, the science is uncertain, etc., is nonsense. What is the point? Where is the superpower part? I mean, simply describing the results, the symptoms, the mechanisms, the outcomes of the cycle, is that the superpower? How? In what way? I'm waiting for that one.
The menstruation phase.
Uh-huh.
Here, hormones are at their lowest, and the energy levels reflect this. Unlike many animals, human beings release their entire inner lining of the uterus every month instead of recycling it.
Uh-huh.
You can consider the inner lining of the uterus as the nest of the unborn baby.
I could, and I suppose technically that is what it is anyway. Uh-huh.
And since it's such a complex process to
Yeah.
develop a human baby,
Uh-huh.
we need an entire new nest every cycle.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want like a shabby, icky, rotten nest to make a baby in, would you?
This process requires significant energy,
Uh-huh.
leaving the body in a state of restoration.
Oh, is that what the pickles and ice cream are for?
On top of that, menstruation can bring about a mild, dreamlike state of mind due to the release of natural painkillers.
So menstruation makes you high?
It's the body's unique way of being high on life while being low on energy.
Uh-huh.
Winter is the season to rest, reflect, and receive.
Okay. I understand in the abstract the poetry and beauty of the life cycle and so on. Ladies, is it as amazing, seasonal feeling, artistic as she's describing it? I mean, I guess everybody's experience is different, but really?
It's time to let everything go and fully embrace some well-deserved me time.
Oh.
Think long baths, wearing pajamas as they wear, and finally mastering the fine art of doing absolutely nothing while wrapped in a blanket like a human burrito.
Okay. The one constant thing that I have noticed, and ladies, you'll have to let me know if this is true, because maybe I just lucked out, is that more than a few of the women in my life, whether they are friends or intimate partners, all of them would have set aside period pants. Is that a common aspect? You had like a one set of like comfy jammies in the drawer somewhere that those are your period pants? Taking a straw poll in the chat again.
Next up is spring, also known as our follicular phase.
Mm-hmm.
As menstruation ends, estrogen starts making its comeback, bringing a surge of energy, curiosity, and a magical sense of I'm ready for anything. The body is biologically preparing for possibility, and that readiness isn't just physical. It's mental and emotional too.
Uh-huh. Okay. Again, you're talking about some kind of like abstract average of experience. Maybe. When do we get to the superpower part? How does this bestow you with something special, except just a combination of symptoms?
Spring is a time of growth,
Uh-huh.
both in nature and in ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a kind reminder that after every low, there's a high waiting to greet us.
Is there, though? Is there?
So take on that energy and curiosity and let it guide you towards what excites you most.
What?
Spring is a time to explore, exercise, and experiment.
Does anybody have their life planned out in this way based on the ups and downs of the menstrual cycle every month or so? Okay.
Want to finally meet the in-laws? Try kickboxing.
What?
Go for it.
That's the time to try. You got it here first, folks. That's the time to try kickboxing, ladies. That's the peak time for kickboxing. I meet the parents as well. What?
Spring has your back.
Spring has your back.
Then comes summer,
Yes.
also known as our ovulation.
Summer is the shortest of the seasons, apparently.
Estrogen is at its peak, and so
Uh-huh.
is your energy, your charm, and your desire to be social.
Okay, so 2 weeks into the month is when you're at your best, ladies. Just so you know. 14 days in to your monthly cycle, that's when you're at your best. According to her. I don't know if that's true. You'll have to let me know.
Some studies show that the brain's gray matter even increases slightly when estrogen levels are high.
Oh, estrogen makes you smarter or bigger brainer.
This growth helps to sharpen verbal skills
Oh.
and social confidence.
Oh, and of course, all these things men lack on a monthly basis. Okay.
So if ever there was a time to take center stage and impress literally anyone, this is your golden hour.
Wow, I'm learning so much. Okay, so 14 days in, ladies. That's the time. That's the time to shine.
Paperwork, not so much. You might feel restless since your body is screaming, I leveled up your charm for actual people, not for a spreadsheet.
Uh-huh.
Summer is the time to connect, conquer, and communicate.
Conquer? All right.
High energy social events, bring them on. Intense workout? Sure, why not? This is prime time for networking and presenting your big idea on stage.
Okay, all joking aside for just a moment, at least in our speaker's case, I wonder if she actually plans her event calendar every month around this theory. Like she makes sure that all or most of her social engagements occur within about the 2-week mark of her cycle. Just as an example. That she does her networking things and this, that, the other. So she knows, like, by her own clock, aha, today is the day that I can be social at my maximum peak. Or is that psychosomatic? You know, the theories on how the hormones interact with the brain may be true on the average. But in her case or anybody else's case watching this, how much is, I guess, nature versus nurture, if you get my meaning. Holy cow, Derek LaRue. Holy cow, let me get the cat. Oh, chat jumped all over the place. Derek LaRue, thank you so much, Derek. Appreciate it very much. It's very generous of you. Thank you, as always, for your generosity and support. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're enjoying the show. It's very nice of you. Thank you. Boy, oh boy, you guys are so generous. Appreciate it.
Imagine how unstoppable this talk would have been if I were in my summer.
So you didn't schedule your TEDx talk in your summertime. Oh, are we in the winter of your discontent?
At last, we arrive at autumn,
Uh-huh.
the luteal and premenstrual phase. Progesterone is in full swing, nudging us to slow down and reflect.
Uh-huh.
It's the perfect time to clean up your space, both physically and mentally, like preparing a comfy nest for the winter.
Uh-huh.
It's also a great opportunity to release some of those pent-up feelings and channel that sharp, critical energy into something useful.
Or just get really pissy at your mate. I don't know. Okay, we are nearly 13 minutes into this 16-minute presentation, and I'm pretty sure I haven't heard anything about any superpowers yet, except, I guess, unless she means like, oh, well, at this point in the course of your menstrual cycle, now you have the superpower of charm. And in this point in your menstrual cycle, you have the superpower of focus. Is that it? Maybe I'm just being dense. That must be it, because I'm not hearing anything else.
Like tackling some of those neglected to-do lists or reviewing some papers.
There's a lot of paperwork and busy work going on in a menstrual cycle.
Autumn is the time to review, refocus, and reorganize. It's time to focus on the details, wrap things up, and have a bit of self-care.
Well, what if you got, like, I don't know, a job? You know, a job that expects you to do things on a regular basis, day by day. I don't think you can take time out for yourself regardless of your season when having to fulfill a job, or maybe taking care of your existing children or everything else. There are outside forces occurring. Now maybe if you're a single, I'm going to assume with the lack of the wedding ring that our speaker is single. So maybe she has the option to really self-care and focus on herself every day of every month. But there are women out there, I know it's a crazy idea, who have a lot more obligations and responsibilities that maybe they have to power through these ups and downs for the sake of getting things done regardless of what season they're in. I could be just spitballing here.
A light workout will help to keep the autumn blues at bay. So, a question I often hear is, well, this is all great,
Yes.
but how do we actually align our lives with our menstrual cycle?
That is something that I alluded to earlier. How do you? How does one do this and also, maintain an actual life? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. My wife's power is to hurt my feelings. Oh, poor Johnny. Well, I mean, just tell her you have no feelings and she'll give up. There you go. Ha, you can't do anything to me. I'm a sociopath. Thank you, Frosted Glass. This just sounds like astrology with extra steps. It does sound a little pie in the sky, let's say, or a bit too generalized. But maybe she's about to answer those doubts and questions in some way. So let's. I'm gonna back up a little bit just to get her intro here. But let's see what she has to say.
Well, this is all great, but how do we actually align our lives with our menstrual cycle when life is already packed with responsibilities?
Yes.
Here's my tip.
Okay.
Track your cycle a month ahead.
Track your cycle a month ahead.
By planning ahead, you can align certain tasks or events with the phase of the cycle when you probably feel most capable for it.
That's exactly what I was speculating on earlier. Okay.
For instance, you can plan high-energy social events in your summer phase.
That's, you know what? I'm going to take another victory lap just because I have nothing else going. Tell me more, tell me more.
While keeping your winter phase as free as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And in case you don't have that kind of control over your calendar.
Because you have a regular job and or a family to raise,
Knowing your internal season can still be a game changer.
How?
You will be able to prepare both physically and mentally for what is coming next. And here is one for all the friends, family, and partners out there.
Oh boy, lay it on me.
Do you want to be their star player? Download the cycle tracking app. And
Download a cycle tracking app. You don't happen to have one that you're recommending, do you? I mean, that might be that sounds like a sales pitch for a product or service here.
Follow along. By knowing in what internal season they will be, you can show up when it counts.
I can show up when... So I need an external app tracking my partner's cycle to tell me, based on your seasonal theory of the cycle, where they are mentally, emotionally. Do you have any idea the absolute peril you would be putting men by telling them that they can know ahead of time what their partner is thinking or feeling based on your theory? Do you have any concept of a man assuming to know their partner's feelings on something At any given point in life, in general, you've never been a man with a woman as a partner, have you? No, that is a recipe for disaster. Disaster. Poker Pierce, thank you so much. Your sacrifices don't go unappreciated. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, the mental toll I inflict on myself on a weekly basis for knowledge and education and so on. Yeah, I wanted to do something a little off the beaten path this week. After what we had Gen X last week, and I honestly forget what came before that. It just the mind blanks. But I am learning something. I am learning something, or I'm being reminded of things I probably learned in high school biology class. But I am learning something and having things to think about I didn't know I'd be thinking about today.
Maybe with a stash of chocolate, just before that period.
Uh-huh.
Trust me, gratitude will be off the charts.
You never know. You never know. Again, it is a dangerous ground to tread when you start making assumptions about what your partner thinks, wants, needs, or otherwise, even when you ask them. The mum, thank you so much. Men assuming equals death. And I know exactly. That's what I'm talking about here. Especially, like, I could picture one, maybe two of my past girlfriends that if I came up to them on any particular day of the week or the month or whatever and said, "Oh, hey, honey, you want to go do a social thing tonight? I see that your testosterone is in alignment with your estrogen, so this is the best time to go to a party." I have a feeling I probably wouldn't make it out of the room unscathed. I got a sneaking suspicion that conversation would not go very well.
As we draw to a close, I want to invite you to see the menstrual cycle for what it truly is.
Oh, what is it truly? Is it a gift?
A source of power.
A source of power. All right, ladies. Is the menstrual cycle, in its totality, a source of power in your personal experience?
It's a dynamic process that influences our body and mind every single day. It's a beautiful journey of rest, renewal, growth, and release.
Oh, it's a beautiful journey. Okay, ladies, is that your experience? Dina B says no. Just outright no. What kind of power? Well, the first power with Lou Diamond Phillips. Anybody remember that movie? I do. The power, yeah. Anthem 21 times. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Maidenhell says no. Out and out, no. Susannu Ala Richard, the power to make babies and clean, I guess. I suppose. Kieverdam, it's a skill to endure. Ooh. All right.
Echoing the rhythm of nature itself.
Ah, the rhythm of nature.
And yet it is often still framed as a burden and hidden away.
Well, I mean, I only have a poll of my audience, but thus far, I'm not hearing a whole lot of rah-rah, sis-boom-bah over it. So, I suppose it's just a state of mind. It's how you frame it.
And that suppression comes at a cost.
Oh.
Did you know that burnout affects women in much higher rates than men?
I guess I did not know that.
Part of the reason is that we've been taught not to align our lives with our menstrual cycle.
Oh, so women would experience less burnout if they aligned their lives to their menstrual cycle. I don't know if that is true or not. How could you test that? How would you know that?
So what if we changed that?
I don't know.
What if we embraced it as a guide?
What if Dr. Doom became the Sorcerer Supreme?
A source of strength and balance.
Uh-huh.
What if we saw it as our ultimate superpower?
What if? What if?
I want to thank you for walking this path with me and for exploring what it would mean to live more in harmony with our bodies and helping to break the taboo. So here's a question I would love to pose to you.
I love questions because it gives me an opportunity to think and give a snarky answer. Proceed.
How can you and we better honor and integrate the body's natural rhythms into our daily lives?
Leave the room, in my case. Okay, well, there you go. Oh my gosh, we don't usually see that little ending bit there. All right, well, there you go, guys. That is the menstrual cycle, the secret superpowers of the menstrual cycle. It makes you more attractive, more sociable, more focused, more healing, more. It just makes you more. Roger Moore. I don't know. But either way, that is the presentation. Let's go to the bingo card. So this is how I have it right now. Let me shrink it down by a smidge. Shrinky-dink. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go over the bingo card one more time by myself. Actually, I need to update it. Hold on, pardon me. There we go. That's the bingo card as it appears right now. Let's go over it one more time. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them. I'll get to you momentarily. Word salad. Boy, howdy. I think so. There was a lot of flowery, poetic talk about things. Mind reading assumes motives. Yeah, the whole dynamic about a couple of things. I don't know if these all apply necessarily, but first and foremost, that somehow a time of, I guess, crankiness or disappointment in the body and in the behavior only occurs in heterosexual couples. That doesn't sound like that makes a whole lot of sense to me. But also that, this is how women work. This is how you need to, orchestrate your lives. These are the emotions, the effects that these hormones have on you on a monthly basis. Marginalization. I am going to circle this because she was talking about the suppression, keeping it private, or the taboo of discussing the menstrual cycle. So after a fashion, that is marginalized, that is marginalization. And as a result of that,
I had a dog, and his name was...
What?
I had a dog, and his name was...
Bingo!
Of course!
All right, moving on. Patriarchy. I'm sure somebody will have an argument elsewise, but she didn't really make the men aspect or suppression thereof or anything an element of her talk. Just mentioning men, by the way, does not equate to patriarchy. You have to be able. Here's your marching orders on this one. If you want to try to make an argument for this one, you have to argue that the concept of patriarchy was an element of her presentation. It can't just be there were men mentioned. Okay, so I'll just leave it there. Feminism. I am going to circle that because there were several very subtle little digs at men with the holding up, like when she started out saying, women go through more hormonal changes in a month than men do their entire lives. And, you were, part of you already existed inside your grandmother's womb, very matriarchal, that kind of thing. So it wasn't the most heavy-handed feminism in the world. I'm not going to accuse her of that, but it was there. It was a little bit, the secret power of women, even though she said all genders. Maybe if I was being more generous, I'd say that she was talking about just the existence of those hormones in human beings writ large, but I don't think that was it. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I'm going to go for the seasons of the menstrual cycle as her buzz phrase after a fashion. That was the framework on which she was basing her entire presentation, and she did say something to the effect of, I like to look at it as the seasons and so on. So I'm going to do that. Systemic or institutional? Yeah, well, I mean, in the sense that she described the menstrual cycle and the system, the pattern, the schedule, and so on. Yes, I realize I'm being a little loose with that one, but I think it's unavoidable in this case. Anecdote that probably never happened. How many anecdotes did she give us? The only anecdote that she gave us really was her first period when she was 13. I remember there was something I was saying anecdote that probably never happened. I'm not quite sure what it is now. Someone will have to remind me. White supremacy? No, she never brought up race. Leaves out vital context. Well, I mean, I kept asking, what are the superpowers, when she was describing what the superpowers were. So I guess in that sense, she didn't leave out the vital context of that. I don't know. I'll need some help with that one. Weightless example or non sequitur? A weightless example. I'll leave that to you guys. Sales pitch for product or service. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Cycle app. She didn't name one specifically, but she was recommending that men just download one as a matter of course. That's enough for me. Privilege. Not that I recall. One could say, oh, well, I mean, men had the privilege of not having to go through with this, except that her entire argument was that this is a gift. This is a superpower. So, yeah, that doesn't quite track. Collectivize his own demographic. Yes, ultimately with her presentation and giving a general, very idolized version of the menstrual cycle, she was doing that at least. So circling that one there. Self-vilification or wretchedness. No, I didn't hear anything about that in there. Economic disparity. I mean, she did talk about scheduling your life around your cycle, but I don't think she talked about making more money or the cost or anything like that. Plays victim? No. Okay, now this is going to be the tough one, and I want to predicate before we get into too many arguments about this one, because I can see where this could go. Deceptive statistics. Okay, she did give us a chart, and the chart did show some generalities in time frame for when things hit as far as hormones and so on. Now, were they deceptive? Did she use them in a deceptive manner? Because I'm willing to stipulate that in a general sense, the time frame of those rises and falls in the hormone appearance and so on is generally accurate. Obviously, it is an average. So in that sense, I can't say it's deceptive. The question is, did she use that chart in a deceptive manner? That's the argument you're going to have to make to me. Not that she used statistics, simply the presence thereof does not mean that square is circled. You have to argue to me and convince me that there was some form of deception or some kind of like willful omission of something to make a point in the use of such. Okay? Just want to make that clear ahead of time. And lastly, microaggressions or unconscious bias. This might be a little bit of double dipping. Well, maybe not so much. But the constant saying of like, oh, this information is suppressing and it's taboo to talk about, and so everybody is scared to talk about and so on. Not necessarily, and that is also expressing, society's general conscious or unconscious bias about the subject matter. And so, because of that,
Bingo.
What? Of course!
Okay, so that's me going over the card myself. There's a lot of squares that could potentially be circled if the arguments meet my high standards, as you know. So if you have any arguments to be made or any comments generally about her theory, especially those of you in the chat who are the ladies of the persuasion, just pop them in there. If I've already missed your comment, please just repost it and we'll go to it. Advocatus, go get her hormone is not a new buzz phrase. She was incorrect in what she attributed it to. It should be DHEA, the precursor to estrogen, and testosterone, deceptive non-stat, LOL. I'm assuming there was another L there. Okay, well, thank you for that factoid, Advocatus. Appreciate it. I like to educate myself and others while we're here. Tier Alexander Scarblight, privilege. Man don't possess this superpower is exclusive to female. Oh, from the reverse. Tear came in from the other direction. Oh, you are correct, sir. I agree. Good job. Good job. See, a good argument can bowl me over very quickly. Let's see. Well, if she says we do not know the science on this, and most of the scientists are men, then using the transverse property men are preventing knowledge they need, voila, patriarchy. Your Rube Goldberg device has a few too many steps there. Few too many steps. Let's see. Got me wondering what the stats were. Well, I mean, she used a graph and a chart. And that's, for the sake of the card and the square, I'm generally willing to accept something where they use charts and statistics and things to make a claim or make part of their argument. So it is a bit of a steeper hill to climb here. But if you're going to make an argument for deceptive statistics, you're going to have to really convince me. That's all. Let's see. What else do we have? We already covered privilege. Okay, Tyr Alexander's taking a shot at deceptive statistics. Women experience burnout more than men. By not giving numbers, she's being deceptive. But also, well, I'd say that leaves out vital context. How deceptive it is, I don't know. I mean, you have to be able to like show there's some deception taking place there. But leaves out vital context, I'll at least give you that one. So, you know, the transverse property of bingo square arguments. True enough. Okay, here we go. I have an argument for patriarchy. She assumed we use our manly strength to flip the Monopoly board and women only had enough testosterone to understand but not accomplish the task. Points for entertainment. Not sure it actually fits the criteria for the square though. That was, I like that. That was funny. That might actually go more towards feminism in saying that men have shorter tempers, toxic masculinity, and so on. But I like the path you took me on there. Let's see. Asan, women go through more hormone changes in a month than men do in a lifetime. Again, leaves out vital context. She didn't give us. In this case, I need something I can hang statistics on. Okay, I need something. If she'd given numbers, if she'd given a graph, maybe. But in this case, she just said something that could be an anecdote that never happened or leaves out vital context. The only thing that she provided that could qualify as statistics in this, as far as I can tell, is the chart. I know I'm being a stickler, but I gotta either that or we really need to redefine the square at some point to make it more clear, to get rid of some of this ambiguity. So we might need to discuss that if we keep running into this wall. Let's see. Suzanne Ala Richard, women aren't all on a monthly cycle. It's true. I've known some women who have any noticeable symptoms, at least as far as they can tell, over the course of a couple of days. You know, like 4 or 5 days is when anything noticeable happens. And while other things may be occurring in the background, they're effectively irrelevant. Now, admittedly, again, everybody's different. So you can't make one generalized statement about how it works and just say that's how it works, because it might not be from one woman to the next. Let's see. Abdicatus. Well, if she says we do not know the science on this, and most of the scientists are men, then use the... oh, yeah, we had to do that one. Sorry. I think you might have repeated that one I just got. Okay, I'm scrolling down a bit. Let's see. Zan Wild. Plays victim. Her mom didn't bake her a cake and throw her a party for her first period. I didn't get plays victim. I thought maybe confused. I don't know if that's a plays victim. She didn't really lean on that as a plays victim kind of thing. Like she was really hurt by it or psychologically scarred. Osan, anecdote that probably didn't happen. Her childhood anecdote, no kid is excited to be bleeding from a new place. In her case, I might believe it. She put such a shine on this entire process that I don't know. Everything else in the talk kind of convinced me that she might be the kind of personality to try to, make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, so to speak. I don't know. Zan Wild, my granny baked me an angel food cake. Well, not only that, Zan Wild, your granny, after a fashion, baked part of you. Ew. We learned that today, too. I don't know if you were here for that part. That was early on. If you weren't here, she let us know that the eggs in your mother are formed during the course of birth, which means that the egg that you eventually became at one point or another was inside of your grandmother. Ugh. Let's see. Her story about her mom and her first period was a bit non sequitur, never really came back up. Let's see. So she had her first experience, and then she was really excited. She went to her mom, and mom said it wasn't that big. Well, you could say, and again, I know I'm trying to think about this here. You could say that was the impetus to try to find the positives out of it, in contrast to the generally accepted notion of what the menstrual cycle is. That could have leaned into her point that, generally speaking, society sees this as a bad thing or as a negative or something you don't talk about, and that mom was just expressing that element to her upon her first period. So I don't think I can say non sequitur. It does go along with part of her argument. Whether you agree with it or not is beside the point, but it's not a non sequitur. I wouldn't say it's a non sequitur. Describe it. Her definition of PMS acronym equals patriarchy. Oh, pissed at men syndrome? I don't know if is that patriarchy? She just dropped it. Well, no, she didn't need to go any further with it. She was framing the general notion about the menstrual cycle. That was the first step in her talking about how the menstrual cycle is generally seen as something that's a negative or as something that's to be not discussed too much. That was just the first part of leading into her narrative on that. So I disagree. I don't think it was a non sequitur. As far as an anecdote that never happened, it's hard to say, which makes it kind of let's see. Any other arguments for squares to be circled? If I missed it or missed you or something, let me know in the chat. Just repost it. K. Roberts. She did say it was okay to lash out at men after one day of attempting to leverage her new taxonomy. Well, that might be feminism. I don't know if that's patriarchy. Yeah, you have to show me that there's some like overriding male influence on everything in the first place, and that it's in her presentation, not something that you're elaborating on or extracting from, reading between the lines. And in fact, she made males relatively subservient in this. It's like, men, get the app, buy some chocolate, etc. and so forth. Patriarchy. Why is the period not to be discussed? Because men find it yucky. But she used her own mother as her example of the kind of mentality regarding the menstrual cycle. So is mom just a victim of the patriarchy, or is mom just someone who doesn't see it as something to celebrate? Again, if she had brought up something more about men suppressing this or men being turned off by it or something, maybe, but she never really leaned into that. Let's see. This seems like a birds and the bees talk you give to your kids, not something to be lectured on as an adult. Yeah, I'm not. This is why I'm so fascinated after a fashion when I see talks on this subject or similar subjects. It's like, what's the sales pitch here? And I'm not talking about a product or service, but generally speaking, when I see something like this, the secret superpowers to the menstrual cycle, I'm like, okay, you're going to have to convince me that something that just happens as a matter of course to women on a regular basis that affects them in different ways depending on the woman can be framed as something good and powerful. She tried her best to say, okay, well, in general, these hormones have these effects on the mind and the emotions and so on. So schedule your world around your menstrual cycle and you may be able to take advantage of these little winds at your back. Okay, not the most convincing argument, but there you go. Otherwise, all the information she provided, and again, to the general terms of it, I'll stipulate to their accuracy. Yeah, it sounded like something I would have heard in biology class. So, okay, T.R. Alexander, patriarchy. Women would be better if they followed their cycles, flowed their cycles. Was that a double entendre? Flowed their cycles, but why don't they follow their cycles? Men. I didn't hear that either. I'm not trying to be contrarian just for the sake of being contrarian. If it's in the presentation, it's in the presentation. If it's not in the presentation, if she didn't say it, without some really heavy implication, I'm hesitant to circle on something just because we want to project further meaning into what she was saying outside of anything she actually mentioned. So, okay, advocatus. All genders have menstrual cycles was also a non sequitur since she focused on... Okay, now that one I'll give you. That was one that I think that was the anecdote that never happened as well. Weightless example, non sequitur, for sure. Yeah, that was one that never came up again. She talked about all genders. So, yeah, all genders. Not both genders. Like if she'd said both genders and then she started talking about how, men in relationships or with people and so on have to do this, that, and the other, then I could kind of buy that. But she was talking about how it affects all gender. Like, no. So there you go. I'll grant you that one. Any other arguments? Okay, Tara, she said women would be better off if they followed their cycles. For what reason are they not following it? Because they don't understand the benefits of the cycle at the particular points in its process. So her argument is our lack of understanding. I mean, this kind of goes back to her original point, even though it was not technically true. It's not that there isn't science behind it. It's that a lot of people, even women, don't understand necessarily the mechanisms that go on during your average cycle. Therefore, because of my talk, I will inform you at which points during the course of your month you would do best to do certain activities, socialize, work on this, that, and the other. So that is why the lack of information, the lack of knowledge of how the cycle works. That was her argument. So at least I can give her that one. That was part of her whole presentation. But with that, everybody, I'm starting to lose my voice, so I need to take a break here. Now, appreciate everybody's participation, of course, in argumentation. If you have an argument that I didn't already cover, or you have a refinement of an argument that was already stated, please put it in the comments below, or you always have the option to post it over on the Discord server under the TEDXcellence channel. And did you know I have a Discord server? I have a Discord server. How do you get to the Discord server? Well, I'll tell you. You follow the link I'm about to put into the chat. Now, the links are only good for one day, so get them while they're hot. Click on that link, you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello, and in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me you are not a bot, have watched the stream, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. Today's secret word is summer, because apparently that is the perfect time of the menstrual cycle to be your prettiest and most sociable. So just say hello, summer, and I'll know that you watched the show. Beyond that, everybody, you can always find me here every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for another TEDXcellence. We'll take a look at another off-brand TED Talk for education and rumination, as it were. Upcoming appearances and such. Tomorrow, unless something holds me up, it's possible, but not always true. Midnight's Edge in the morning. On the Midnight's Edge channel at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about movies and Marvel and DC and A Partridge in a Pear Tree, who knows, all types of stuff if you're a nerd like that. And also, I plan on tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, doing another episode of DEI Death Watch, taking a look at some more stories in the realm of DEI and its disintegration or its doubling down, depending on who we're talking about. We'll do that tomorrow at 11:30 in the morning Pacific Time. And then, of course, Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, the Sunday stream where I'll take a look at other stories not directly involved with DEI that I found interesting over the course of the week. There's one in particular that I'm interested to read about because I've done a couple of streams on the subject in the past. You'll find out about that on Sunday. But beyond that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Also, I didn't say hello earlier. Toot Sweet, hello. And Payar D. Bayar, hello. Everybody who donated either to the link at the top of the chat box to Leukemia Lymphoma Society or to myself, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciated. On the way out, I'd also appreciate it if you leave a like and or a comment once this is posted, if you're watching this in the future. And if you could share this out on the social media machine, in particular on Twitter. I am simulcasting right now, so if you happen to see this stream up, posted on Twitter, sharing that out and retweeting it would be appreciated. Beyond that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all have a good rest of your Thursday. I hope your Friday ahead of you is calm and peaceful and like summer in the menstrual cycle. And I hope the weekend ahead of you as well is a fun one. And I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.